Very welcome, everyone. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook this day, not X, not Twitter. The topic for today is USA oil production grows and refining decreases. And with us, the great Ronald Stein, engineer, senior policy advisor for the Heartland Institute and CFACT, and co-author of a Pulitzer, Pulitzer Prize nominated book, Clean Energy Exploitations. And this is me, only for registration. Good evening. How are you doing today, Ronald Trump?
Armando, I'm doing fine. It's afternoon here in California. I guess it's approaching evening in Brazil.
Yes, exactly. Oh, yeah. 6 p.m. here and 2 p.m. for you. Yeah, perfect.
Correct.
Ronald, let me share in the beginning some two charts I brought to our discussion. Let me put here to be easy to, yeah. The first one shows crude oil production, crude oil consumption, and net imports of crude oil. And it shows that it's stable, the consumption around stable. Production internally is the blue line, is growing almost to 14 million barrels per day, I suppose. And the imports is decreasing very, very fast, is for crude oil. And for the intention of today's discussion, refining products, we see that the blue line is a refinery throughput, and the red one, or the orange one, is the products net imports is decreasing. So this is a surprise for me, and I would like to ask you, how do you see these numbers and these pictures?
Well, you've got to get down to the basic fact that crude oil by itself is totally useless. It's black tar. And I think the United States is recognizing that our oil industry, the production of oil and the refining of oil, is in terminal situations. But it's a lot easier to permit to drill for oil. So oil production is going up quickly. To build a refinery takes decades, decades, and getting a permit and site it and place it and et cetera, et cetera. So having the oil is fine, but if you don't have the refineries to refine it, then we basically have a lack of products to support our lifestyles. It's catamount to, a person likes to go out to dinner and go to the theater, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you can't do that without a job. Well, if you lose
Mhm.
the job, you can't go to the theater, you can't go out to dinner. It's the same type thing. If you lose all the refineries, all the products that have made our lives so simple and easy start disappearing and become a little bit scarce.
Mhm.
So the quality of life is going to be jeopardized due to reduction in refineries. The refineries today we have, they're getting old. They're overregulated. Here in California, we're losing two of them. One shutting down this year, Phillips 66, and one shutting down next year, Valero up in Northern California. And where those products going to come from? Where's the transportation fuel going to come from? Which comes out of the refineries? They're going to come from another refinery somewhere, and that somewhere is probably going to be Asia, because Asia
Yeah.
is building a lot of refineries. They got, I think, 8 new ones coming online in the next couple of years. So it's really scary to see California. We have 41 military airports and 9 international airports, and all that fuel comes from in-state refining. And when you lose 17% of your refining capacity, it's got to be made up somewhere, and that somewhere is going to be from China. So China will be basically be running our military airports and our international airports.
Wow.
And it's yeah, like I say, that's the day of reckoning is fast approaching.
Ron, what's the real reasons that investors are not investing in new refineries or revamp of refineries? Is there something special?
I think it's more of a political stoppage. It's kind of like everybody wants the products that come out of the refinery. You want the fuel for your car, you want the fuel for the planes, you fly for your vacations, and you want your iPads and your iPhones, but nobody wants that dirty refinery in their backyard. So placing it is going to be very, very difficult. Now, when you have, less environmental regulations and more government controls in foreign countries, yeah, they're going to build the refineries. They're just going to place them and do it. But here in the United States, where you got, developed cities, that's really tough. And if you build a refinery out in the middle of nowhere, out in the desert, then you got to pipe it back, and to get the pipeline through the communities, you go through the same process. Not in my backyard. And the
No,
pipes from their
not in my
backyard.
backyard, only the
Yeah.
others. But excluding China, of course, it's totally different. But other countries are making some investments in refineries, or they also still do not touch this matter.
Yes, yes. Like you say, we're just so regulated, and we have this zero emissions policy, which is tantamount to say you can't build a refinery because obviously a refinery has emissions. And so
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. Currently there's over 800 oil refineries in the world, and there's 180 plus, planned by plans by 2030, but mostly in developed countries.
Mhm.
So it's the United States. We're the ones that are hurting. Like I say, it's the Americans' quality of life, and we're going to see that firsthand here in California as these two refineries go out. Because California is an energy island. We're separated from the other 49 states by the Sierra Mountains. There's no pipelines over those mountains. So if there's a refinery on the other side, there's no way to get products back here, the oil back here. And so the easiest way to basically bring it in from offshore.
Yeah, it's interesting because I suppose the United States has around 140 refineries. I'm not totally sure, and Brazil
Yes.
has 14, and they are old too. It's the same situation. They are not investing in refineries in Brazil.
Well, now think about it this way. When the oil refineries, you're right, they're all getting old. When they were put in originally, nobody lived around the area, so nobody objected. So they went in. And as the cities have grown, the cities have grown up around them and getting closer and closer to them. And now they're basically your backyard neighbor. Um, yeah, it's the fact that we got
Yeah,
so much development, it's gonna be tough to build the refineries, and
yeah,
it's nice to build it where you have the use, where
yeah.
the people are. But if you can't do that and build it somewhere else, then you gotta pipe all the
Yeah,
products back to the people.
that's a good point because probably the risks are being higher at this time with geopolitical situations and everything that's running the
Exactly.
world. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Yes.
It's going to be a real challenge to, I think developed countries are going to experience more quality of life issue changes than developing countries.
Mhm.
Developing countries, some of these countries, we know that there's 8 billion people on the planet, and 80% of them, which is more than 6 billion people, they're living on less than $10 a day.
Yeah.
They haven't joined the Industrial Revolution yet. We take for granted the iPhones, the iPads, all this electronic stuff, and um, but some of these people don't have clean water, don't have sanitation,
Yeah, that's right. That's
don't have
true.
electricity,
Yeah.
and so building a refinery in their backyard, hey, they have no problem with it.
Yeah.
But
Mhm. Less refining in the US means more impact in global refining hubs. For instance, India situation that India is exporting fuels.
well, we'll be importing more products, transportation fuels. We got jet fuel for the planes and gasoline for cars, and um, diesel for trucks. So the fuel will be imported, and all the derivatives. You break down this tar, this naphtha in the process. You get all these oil derivatives that makes all the products. Hospitals didn't exist 200 years ago.
Mhm.
Airports didn't exist 200 years ago, and the politicians, they keep mandating tougher and tougher on the oil industry, on production and refining. But the real cause is the use. If you really mandate people stop using those products,
Yeah.
there's no need for oil.
Mm.
but they're not
Yeah.
going to go that way. So, close all the hospitals, close all the airports. It's just like a restaurant. It serves a bad food and no one buys the food. Well, eventually the restaurant's going to go out of business. Well, it's the
Yeah.
same thing. We don't need crude oil. We need what comes out of crude oil. That's what we've become
Yeah.
used to.
Good point.
And yeah, so we keep mandating, and all the green solutions require more oil.
This is a good problem, but they are using this argument to say that they are growing because refining is reducing.
Again, you can build all the wind and solar you want, but wind turbines and solar panels are basically made with oil.
Yeah.
EVs is 100% made with oil.
Yeah.
From the tires, the computers, the wires, the insulation, it's all from oil. Because wind turbines, solar panels, we know they generate electricity. They make nothing. They make no insulation, no asphalt, no tires. And yeah, you can, the iPhone, you could, I'll show you, you could charge this with electricity, but you can't make it
Yeah.
with a wind turbine. All the pieces and parts
Yeah,
are
that's
coming
right.
from oil. So
Yeah.
everything in our lives is basically oil based, and electricity is not going to be able to replace the products.
Yeah.
We're a product materialistic society, basically addicted to all the products, and we just take it for granted.
Yeah. Considering that the situation of Venezuela and the U.S. May be solved very soon, I'm not sure about that. Of course, no one knows. The dependency of heavy oil imports from Middle East, from United States, from Middle East, be probably turned to Venezuela or heavy oil. How do you see this equation?
Well, I think for national security, you want to pretty much be self-sufficient. If we can, we'd like to produce our oil, we'd like to refine our oil here. But the more and more you depend on foreign countries, and a lot of these foreign countries are unstable. So
Yeah.
if you're depending on them for your fuels and all the products, the fact they're unstable, and the United States being one of the largest economies in the world, that's not the best position to be in. So it's, I don't care which country it is, you're going to have to put that fuel or oil on a tanker and take it across the ocean. And yeah, it's going to really affect us in the near term.
Yeah,
And I
no
think
doubt.
Californians are going to see that in the next few years. We'll be the first to experience it. It's coming for the rest of the country because of these 100 plus refineries in the United States. As they get old, it may not be economical to keep them up and running. And if they close, then that state or city, whatever, is going to be losing their refining. But with California, we got like 40 million people. We live off of these refineries. And when they start going, it's going to be tough. And the people that are going to be least able to afford it, the people that can least afford it.
Yeah.
The people at the low end of the totem pole, when cost of fuel goes up or cost of electricity goes up or the cost of the widget goes up, uh, if you're wealthy, you have no problem, you pay for it. But if you're barely cutting it, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough on those. And so, yeah, I think, homeless will increase. I think it'd be a lot of theft. We see that here in California. People are basically stealing copper
Yeah.
and selling copper, to get money. But it's going to be, I think, a real challenge. Like I said, we want to electrify everything,
It's
but if you
impossible.
electrify everything, that doesn't provide the products that we
Yeah.
live on.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Good evening, Castro Neto, and good afternoon from Rome for you. Thank you for coming. But let me ask you, because the Gulf Coast refineries need have oil to make a mixture with tight oil that comes
Yeah.
from the United States. So the dependency from external oil will be forever, because United States doesn't have oil, or no.
It's limited, and I know California has a lot of oil, but again, if we drill for it now, it's too late because there's nobody to refine it.
Hmm.
So if we get the oil, we're going to have to send it somewhere to somebody else's refinery.
Mhm.
And since there's no pipelines over the Sierra Mountains, we'll probably send it over to China for them to process it, and they can send us back transportation fuels and all the oil derivatives that make all the products in our lives.
Yeah. Uh, United States, the consumption is around 20 million barrels a day. The internal production 14 or 15, I'm not sure. So the imports is around 5, 6 million barrels a day, and big part of this amount comes from Middle East. How do you see Venezuela recover influence on the OPEC production and the whole system prices and things like that?
It's going to be supply and demand. That's a basic equation. And if you got it and somebody else needs it, how badly do they need it? That's going to determine the price of it. So it's going to be really challenging. And that's the conversations that we're having a difficult time having with the people that want to go green. And, everything's got to be wind and solar. Well, that's fine. You can produce all the electricity you want, but there's limitations because that kind of electricity is intermittent. It can't support artificial intelligence, can't afford data centers, and it can't make vehicles. It can't make iPhones. It can't do anything, just electricity. So it's interesting that, we've got 6 ways to generate electricity. We got coal, natural gas, hydro, nuclear, wind, and solar. All 6 ways to generate electricity basically cannot exist without oil. Because oil makes the wires, makes the insulation, makes the computers. And it's, if you get rid of oil, you get rid of electricity. And when you think about it, everything that needs electricity, the iPhone, the TV, the defibrillators in the hospital, everything that needs electricity is also made from oil.
That's a very good point. From the 140 refineries in the United States, how many of them, approximately, are petrochemical plants to manufacture these products? 10%, 20%?
Well, I think they're all basically producing, when you get a barrel of crude oil, a certain percentage turns out to be fuel, and a certain percentage turns out to be oil derivatives that makes all the products. So they're basically refining the whole barrel and distributing it accordingly.
Yeah, yeah. And do you expect that Governor Newsom can approve some kind of investments in refinery to maintain or to keep the refineries that are being closed?
I know the Valero refinery up north, which is closer to Sacramento, they're trying to find a buyer, but logically thinking, it's an oil refinery. Who wants to buy it? If you buy it, then you're basically faced with all this bureaucratic stuff to keep it open, and it's just not a good investment opportunity. So I don't see a buyer coming in.
Yeah, yeah. But the other side, Mr. Donald Trump is incentivizing oil production and oil refining in other places.
Yeah, well, oil production, California, at one time we were 95% self-sufficient. Between oil production in California and oil production in Alaska, it provided 95% of California's needs. That was before the oil embargo. Since the oil embargo, we've been restricting oil exploration to the point it's now almost terminal. So today, California imports more than 60% of our oil needs to the local refineries. Now, it's like I say, it's much easier to permit oil production, but it takes forever to build a refinery. So even if we went back to producing all the oil we could, there's no refineries to refine it here in California.
That's right. United States has a storage of oil as a security system, energy security.
Right.
I don't. Yeah. How many days?
The strategic oil reserve, yes.
Oh, but not for products, refining products, only for
It's raw crude oil. And like I say, it's I basically say it's totally useless. It's black tar.
Sure.
And
Without refining.
yeah. And these refineries are pretty sophisticated, and aesthetically, they look terrible if they're in your backyard. And so, when the refineries were built, they were built in the middle of nowhere. Now the cities are growing closer and closer to them. And so siting them is going to be a real challenge. I know here in California with Valero and Phillips 66 closing, the challenge is we got 41 military airports
Yeah,
dependent on the fuel from those in-state refineries. So Newsom, he wants to get a buyer. Trump may step in and run the refineries because he's got to keep the military fuel supply alive and well.
yeah, that's totally right. So it doesn't matter if you have storage of oil for jets in the
Right.
airport.
They
Not
can't use oil. They can't use crude oil. It's got to be refined to something usable.
perfect. Do you expect prices for refining products may increase, decrease, become stable? Only your vision, probabilistic vision, no compromise.
Well, yeah, without a doubt, because the demand is not going away. All the developed societies still want their iPhones and iPads, et cetera, et cetera. So the demand for products is not going away. And as these 6 billion people around the world start joining the Industrial Revolution and getting electricity, they're going to want to have, their iPhones and their, TVs and sanitation and, running water and things like that. The demand is going to be going up and up and up. So, it's the basic supply demand equation. When you got more demand and a minimum supply or limited supply or restricted supply, it's going to be very inflationary. And the people that are going to be hurt the most are the people that can least afford it.
Mhm, mhm. There is a friend of mine called Ronald Stein that says that oil does not produce electricity.
That's right. It is this black tar.
Yeah,
But
and
it's
we
amazing the ingenuity, because when these refineries were built, there's like 250 processes have been developed over the years, through human ingenuity. And so now we can, make anything, different transportation fuels, fuels for the missile launches and all the products we get. And like I say, 200 years ago, we were in the caveman society. And
Mhm.
life longevity today is better than 75 years. And but before the 1900s, it was maybe 32 years of age.
Yeah, yeah,
So we
that's
just
real.
take it for stand, that's the base point, and it's not going away. But it's like if you lose your job, you can't afford to go out to dinner, And
Yeah.
if you lose a refinery, you're going to be
You, do you
jeopardizing the supply chain of
jeopardize?
those
Yeah.
products.
Do you see any chance of reversion of this vision in the United States, or the trend is to reduce more and more each day the refining
We've had
capacity?
decades of a net zero movement. So all the people in the policymaking position are all net zero minded people. And I think the day of reckoning is going to be coming, but I don't see them changing. I'd like to say yes to your question, but personally, I don't see it.
Let me ask you your final considerations, including several items, please. The
Yes.
fight between Trump and Nielsen, Venezuela, geopolitical attractiveness, uh, everything that's on the table. How do you see this stabilization, let's see, of energy security in the United States? Because the shale gas is very strong, and exporting Venezuela LNG a
Yes.
lot, but oil is something different. How do you see the entire
Well, I
panorama?
think part of the confusion, obviously, Newsom and Trump are not the best of friends. and and Newsom's trying to Trump-proof California.
Yeah,
But I think part of the problem is that Newsom fully believes that wind and solar is going to replace fossil fuels.
You need
And
to explain to him this detail.
he won't talk to me. But it's basically the use of the word energy, because wind and solar is only electricity,
Yeah,
makes nothing for society. And Trump recognizes that we need oil, we need refining, and he's trying to get more oil exploration, keep the refineries running, which is the direct opposite of what Newsom wants. Newsom wants to clean up California air. And the only way to do that is got to get rid of the emissions from those dirty refineries and put more of that clean energy, which he calls wind and solar, which is only electricity. But like I say, you can have as much electricity as you want, but if you have no iPhones to charge because they're made from oil, what are you
cars,
going to do with the
Teslas.
electricity?
Yeah,
Yes. So it's like I said, they're going head to head. The fact that you got Republican, Democrat is one thing. The fact you got, different views of what energy is. Energy is, it's either products or electricity. Which do you want? Newsom wants electricity. Trump wants the products.
who will win?
I think Trump will win.
Strongest, the strongest guy.
But the reality, it's going to set in because, like I say, in the next couple years, at the end of this year, Phillips is shutting down. At the end of next year, Valero is shutting down. Then it's going to start, it'll start being felt within California.
Yeah.
And that's a prelude to coming attractions to the rest of the United States, to the rest of developed countries. As they lose refining capacity locally, it's going to be refined somewhere, and that somewhere may be in a different country.
Yeah.
And so you have a situation,
And
national
Mr.
security issues.
Yeah, and Mr. Trump has a longer time in the office instead of Newsom.
Yeah,
Newsom has only,
Newsom terms out next year.
yeah, Kabbalah is replacing him, of course.
Oh, I hope not.
Was a great pleasure, the conversation with you, as always. You are a very
Thank you,
clever
Armando.
and competent guy. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Have a great day.
You too. Have a great day.
Keep the lights on.
Yeah, and refining oil.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.